I'm Brian Goldfinger from Goldfinger Injury Lawyers. We'd like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. Don't drink and drive, don't token drive, and wait till you get to your destination to reply to that text. Visit goldfingerlaw.com.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors weekly podcast for the week of December 10th. I'm joined by Zarar, and we're here to talk about the Raptors who have collapsed after losing 3 of the last 4 games. Zarar, how are you personally handling this tragic stretch of Raptors losses?
Well, as an experienced Raptors fan, I never get my hopes too high, so there's nothing to crush. I'm not panicking though. It's a few losses. In a row. I think the root cause of these losses can be attributed to, maybe a couple things. Kyle Lowry's poor play has obviously a lot to do with it. Do you expect Lowry to be this shit for the entire season? No. I think while we're getting into Kyle Lowry, let's get into Kyle Lowry because I got to go in half an hour and play in my Comedy Records basketball league.
Oh, that's right.
By the way, I am foregoing my warm up by doing this podcast. So.
Wow.
So if I suck tonight, you know who to blame.
A true sacrifice. Most of the questions, by the way, were Lowry. So let's just start there. What's going on with Kyle Lowry? Do you think he's injured?
Well, this is the thing, right? This is like this mysterious thing we always have to worry about. Every year, it's like, is this Lowry injured? Is he being streaky? Should he rest? Should he play on? Should the coach bench him? Should Lowry be smart enough to just sit out on his own because it happens year over year? Nobody knows. The smart thing right now to do is just like we are doing with Kawhi. We're managing his rest really well this season. Why not do it with Lowry, who's older, who's shown that he gets injured late on in the season and is never, if ever, he's been 100% for the playoffs. He's the guy whose rest we need to manage. So if what we're seeing right now is the symptom of him playing 35 minutes a game or whatever he's doing, maybe we should give him a rest. I don't think Kyle Lowry overnight turns into a shitty player. He does get winded though. He does get tired though, especially at his age, his advanced age, and his constant playing 35 plus minutes. It's got to add up. So if I'm the Raptors staff, just like they have done since preseason, they have had the longer outlook, the big picture view. They manage the rest. Do the same with Lowry. Treat him even in a more sensitive manner than what they're doing with Kawhi, which only makes sense. Now, does even an injured and somewhat in slump Lowry go 0-4 in a Bucks game? Man, that was surprising. I fully expected him to hit that 3 when Kawhi passed him the ball with it was like we were up 3.
Yep.
And he
could have ended the
ball
game
on the and that could have ended the game, and it was just a little short, right? And it was on target. I've looked at that replay 10 times already. On short, it was 3 inches short, if that, right? And that's fatigue. That's maybe I don't know what. But now's the time. You've identified an issue. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue pounding him 35 minutes a game, or are you going to take a step back and go, you know what? We got DeLon Wright, who can step up and needs minutes. We have Fred VanVleet, who's coming out of his slump and could use some more minutes. Or do we continue throwing Lowry in for 35 minutes a game in games that don't really matter that much?
Okay, here's my question, though. Even if Kyle Lowry's at his best, how good is that in terms of as a secondary scorer? Because the Raptors are a pretty complete team. They have a lot of great options. They have a couple of small weaknesses. Those are manageable. Every team has weaknesses. But if they don't have a secondary scorer beyond Kawhi, right? Because we've seen over the course of this season, more and more defenses are keying up, loading up on Kawhi, sending 2-3 guys, not letting him drive. His distribution is already not that great in terms of if he sees 4 bodies, can he consistently get the open shot? He's not like a LeBron level type of passer. You need a secondary scorer to create and balance the offense in that sense. And so can Kyle, fully healthy, no excuses, no injuries, nothing, can he be that guy in an important series? Because I think right now what I'm seeing is that Kyle has just kind of, tailed off. And this is a continuation of last year.
I think we're forgetting how great fully healthy Kyle is.
Okay.
A fully healthy Kyle is amazing. Go back to the Boston Celtics game. Like he won us that game at home against the Celtics. It wasn't Kawhi Leonard. It was Kyle Lowry who hit some massive shots. Or am I thinking of the game after? No. Kyle was huge in that game.
He was pretty big. He took a charge too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's huge. So a fully healthy Kyle, I think sign me up for a fully healthy Kyle. Now, I just don't think we've seen a fully healthy Kyle over the last 2 or 3 playoff runs. And now, is that a matter of just Kyle breaking down or the Raptors not managing his minutes properly? I don't know. I would think it has to do with a bit of both, but I'd say more the latter. We just haven't been careful with that. Now, man, if you're going to tell me, I know yesterday during the game, literally during the game, like I went on the ESPN trade checker and I just swapped Kyle for Drew Holiday.
Oh my!
And
I was thinking the same guy.
And 1-for-1, that trade works out. It gives you a big giant green in trade checker. And I'm like, let's see what we can do there. So if a player of Drew's caliber comes along, do I make that deal? Oh, absolutely, in a heartbeat. The question is, would you do a Kyle Lowry, Bradley Beal swap?
I don't think that does too much for the Raptors in terms of their playmaking, right? Like, because of the way the team is set up right now, they need a guy who can at least set the table. The issue isn't with Kyle setting. Kyle's doing everything else fine. His defense is fine. His playmaking is great. He just isn't scoring, and it's not really his fault necessarily if he can't score, but someone needs to score. But if you take Kyle out of that assessment, like, you know, Fred has just terrible chemistry in terms of passing with the other guys, and DeLon is having, quite honestly, one of the worst contract years I've seen because he didn't get that extension, and he is averaging like 4 points a game. It's hard to watch him. The Drew Holiday type of trade is exactly the kind of deal that I would love to see because he's also a two-way point guard, and he's also he's a lot bigger than Kyle. We've seen him sort of guard up a couple of positions. This is the thing with my concern with Kyle. Right? There's a tweet I saw yesterday by Justin Jett. All right, actually a pretty good writer for Def Pen. You should read his work. But Kyle Lowry against teams with fewer than 10 losses this season. All right, Milwaukee 9 of 13 shooting, Philly 20 of 14 shooting, Golden State 10 points on 4 of 14 shooting, Denver 5 points on 1 of 7 shooting, Philly again 7 points on 2 of 8 shooting, and Milwaukee 0 points on 0 of 5 shooting. So he's averaging 8.5 points per game on 27% shooting against the best teams the Raptors have faced thus far. That's a bit of a concern because I think, you know, he's just why can't he get to the basket, or like where's the mid-range game? Remember, he used to have that little like drive hard and then turn around, pivot, and then hit that little mid-range shot. That used to be money for him, and he doesn't have any of that. Even though the three is not going, where's the rest of the game? It's confusing.
Now those stats that you pulled out,
yeah,
does that hold through last season too, or are we just? Is this correlation, causality of his larger struggles? Like, is he always shit against the good teams? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only looking at one guy's numbers. I gotta go back and research. But I mean, I'm not saying Kyle's not capable of playing in big games anymore. I just think that his scoring is, taking a bit of a step off. Where's the mid-range game?
I'd say if you can ship him for a comparable player, like obviously Drew is a prime target here, do it. Yeah. But more likely at $31 million a year over 2 years, he's not going to find many takers, especially this year. Maybe next year his contract enters the Jermaine O'Neal realm of feasibility.
We can get a Sean Marion.
Yeah. You might be able to get something, that route. But this year, I don't think you're going to find any takers for him. So the best you can do is just manage him, right? And last year we kind of blamed Dwayne Casey for like mismanaging Kyle in the playoffs, but this year that excuse is gone. And maybe Nurse is telling him to rest, and Kyle just stubborn and is not listening. That's complete speculation on my part.
Well, I was going to say, just to add to that, I have complete speculation, just purely hypothesizing. But I know Kyle has incentive clauses in his contract, right? Where if he hits a certain amount of games played, he gets a certain amount of extra money. And it's not substantially a lot of money, so I wouldn't really risk it personally. But if you're looking for a reason why he might want to log games just to log games, well, that could be one reason.
I mean, that's a pretty dumb thing to put in a contract. Or if that is a thing, just like bring him on for a couple minutes, at the end of halftime or something and get it over with. But That can't be I just can't imagine that being a motivating factor for a guy who's making 31 million. And I think what's also adding to this whole Kyle Lowry stench right now is his comments to ESPN from a couple days ago.
It seemed unnecessary.
I mean, dude, the trade happened in what, July?
Yeah.
Like, people get over family deaths in that time. Right?
This
like,
was a family death.
About a guy who he gets to see a couple times a year, hang out in the summer, who's getting paid 30 million as well. What are you moaning about? Where has the franchise betrayed you? We've given you a $30 million a year check to play for the Raptors. Nobody's betraying anybody. I think you not being responsible with your minutes and playing like shit is the one betraying the team, not the other way around. So I'm really, really tired of that whole narrative and giving interviews with all mopey-eyed that he's missing DeMar DeRozan. You get to see DeMar DeRozan in the summer, man. You can hang out with him. You can, like, build sand castles or whatever the hell you got to do.
Yep.
But right now is not the time to moan publicly about feeling betrayed by a GM that just handed you 31 million when nobody else was doing that.
There's a popular theory going around that Kyle might be tanking his own performance as a message to Masai. That sounds like bullshit to me. That's
what's
stupid.
The message? Like, what's the message there?
I don't know. Just an FU.
It
looks. I wouldn't really personally do it myself.
Well,
this is a really dumb theory.
Is that from Twitter, Will? Because you're on Twitter way too much, man. You got to get off.
I'm on Twitter way too much. I'm trying to address some of the Twitter questions.
Nothing good on Twitter, man. Just very little good.
It's good career-wise.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we got to think about it not in terms of Kyle, but in terms of maybe we look at some of the other pieces, because we agree Kyle's not really movable, right? But you have Kawhi for this 1 year, and we're seeing how good Kawhi is. You don't want to waste that 1 year, especially since this year is not just about this year, it's also about keeping Kawhi moving forward. And so I think we can all agree the best chance for the Raptors to keep Kawhi is A, keep him healthy, which they've done that really well, and then B, contend. Go as far into the playoffs as you can. Go to the finals. Maybe even take a game or two off the Warriors. At that point, how can Kawhi say no, right? However, I don't think this team, as constructed, because they don't have a secondary scorer, can confidently make it all the way to the finals. So you might have to look at some of the other pieces on the roster and say, you know what, we have JV's contract, we have CJ Miles' contract, we have some young players we can attach to those contracts. Maybe we can go out and get a secondary star like we're sort of talking about here. And, if that's the case, who is untouchable on this roster? Because I'm really just looking at, Pascal, OG, and, Fred, I guess, and DeLon as those are the guys. Those are your chips. So which one? You're not touching Pascal.
Siakam's a chip?
He can be a chip, right? But if you trade Pascal, you got to give someone really good back. I'm not advocating for that. I'm saying Pascal's untouchable. What about you?
No, Pascal's untouchable, man.
Okay. What about OG?
OG is on the... So you got to look at the little bit of a long-term lens here.
Yep.
Chances are you're not going to win the title this year.
Okay.
And you may very well have to start a rebuild. That rebuild will be a lot less painful if you have Siakam and OG on you.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
You are making that, like, if you flip OG and Siakam for I don't know, man, pick somebody, and then you'd lose in the finals and Kawhi leaves, you're done. Like, you are entering Orlando Magic type rebuild situations. Like, we're talking Chicago Bulls here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So I don't want to, like, I have seen the darkness, and the darkness is dark.
Okay.
Right? We want to keep a little bit of light on,
Okay.
Just a 20-watt bulb here.
Okay, let's say we keep Siakam, but then OG. Is OG absolutely untouchable in your mind? Like, if we can get a Drew Holiday, if we could get Bradley Beal, which I don't think both of those guys are available. But regardless, that level
Bradley
of player,
Beal's available, man.
Washington's turning around a little bit, man. Come on. They're gonna
turn it around to what? A second round exit?
They're gonna face us in the first round again.
Okay, so Bradley, but just to FYI, Bill. Did I call you Bill? Because you are a Bill in a way. Kyle Lowry, Bradley Beal, 1-for-1 swap works on ESPN Trade Machine. I don't know what you can do with that information, but it does work. So to your question, is OG untouchable? No, he's not untouchable. He's totally touchable. Touch him all over, man.
Okay, all right.
You just gotta get, like, if you get Kyle plus OG for Drew, would you do it?
No, I wouldn't. Man, that's tough. No, I don't think I ultimately do it. No.
What do you want to pick?
Yeah, I would like a pick in return. Yeah, I would love one of New Orleans' picks,
As soon as we enter the discussion that you would do this trade with a pick, that means you're going to do this trade without a pick too.
Oh, God. Yeah. That's how Masai ended up getting $5 million extra and Danny Green for free, basically, in the Kawhi trade.
Which he's going to pay to Kyle Lowry for meeting his games quota.
Kyle, man. It's not worth it, Kyle. It's not worth it. Okay, one other question that has been posed in the questions here. All right. Well, actually, one of them from our guy Goldfinger, Brian Goldfinger. Great podcast you did with him, by the way. Go back and listen in the archives. That was really fun. Good Euro slow car stories. But does Kyle Lowry make the All-Star team this year?
No. Hell no.
Why not? What? He's leading the league in assists. He's probably going to average like 15 points and 10 assists. That's in the West. In the East, it's not implausible.
Sure, who cares? Like, it's an All-Star game. I mean, I don't care who makes the All-Star. I don't even watch the All-Star game, man. When was the last time you saw an All-Star game?
I have to for work, but that's about it.
Yeah, the last time I saw an All-Star game was when it was in Toronto, and I saw that because it was in Toronto.
That was a great All-Star weekend. It's too bad it was minus 25 degrees outside.
Yeah, I was actually at the arena that day. That was the only time I have ever utilized the Raptors Republic press credentials for something. Yeah.
Good. Okay, the other thing that people wanted to address here is, what are your honest assessments of Nick Nurse so far?
Dude, Nick Nurse, somebody posted somewhere something that you get to see a team's true colors in adversity.
Okay.
Or anybody's true colors in adversity. And right now the Raptors are facing that adversity and they're not handling it well. Okay. If you had to critique Nick Nurse, you would say he's done an amazing job of being a player's coach and allowing his players to play to their strengths. I think his offense is pretty open. Defensively, his team is motivated. That's something that we always credited Dwayne Casey with, of having, a motivated bunch. I think Nick Nurse has done that. Well, the one criticism is that when this offense, like against the Bucks, needed something, the ball movement just died and it became the Kawhi show. That is one common thread in pretty much all our losses, is that in crunch time, we do become very, very one-dimensional. Now, that has something to do with Kyle Lowry being, out of sorts right now.
Yeah.
But that is a bit of a fearful trend if you're a Raptor fan. However, overall, when you see how Kawhi speaks of him, how the players speak of him, the way he handles the press, the way he answers questions, it seems that he's a pretty honest coach who will tell you enough information. He's basically open with the fans, I find. I think he gives you way more information in media interviews than other coach usually does, which is great from a fan perspective. And if I can extrapolate that, I think that's probably his attitude with the players as well. I think the players respect somebody who speaks to them openly and is honest with them. Now, how much he does that, obviously nobody knows. But overall, from a culture perspective, I think he's done well. He's done well to accommodate Kawhi. The players are playing hard. Yeah, the offense is still a bit one-dimensional. So overall, I'd give Nick Nurse like a A grade here, man.
So you're saying Nick Nurse, the way if you're describing this person, I didn't know who you were talking about. That sounds like Dwayne Casey.
Sounds like that's the one common thread is the one-dimensional offense there.
Someone called him White Casey the other day, and I was dying.
So one thing I'll counter to that point, Will, is that I think Nick Nurse has shown some flexibility using his lineups way more than Dwayne Casey did. I think his movement of Ibaka to the 5, his recognition that that's where his strength is, has resulted in Ibaka's resurgence. Okay. That's huge credit to him. The way he's managed Siakam's minutes and his impact is pretty well. I don't think he just brings him on at the same time, at the same place every single game. I think he mixes matches really well. The same with Fred. I don't think it's a predictable pattern of when Fred necessarily plays. He plays it by the ear. I think he's way more in tune with in-game tactics than Dwayne Casey, who was classically like a between games guy. But yeah, the common thread is at the end of the day, how well do you perform in clutch? And yeah, there's some similarities there.
I would say the only issue I have in terms of his rotations is I almost want to see Pascal play more. Like, this is the player in the Raptors that has the most energy. He's averaging 30 minutes a game already, which is a lot, obviously. And it's a big step up from where he was last year at 20. But I'd almost want to see that number at 34, 35. I don't see why he wouldn't, be one of the top 3 minutes players on the team. But these are small things to nitpick. I think in the crunch time, there really are some execution issues. But I also think that, again, this goes back to the second score discussion, right? Like when the Bucks basically decided to play Kawhi one-on-one, in the Bucks game. Yeah, Kawhi scored. He scored really well. He led the Raptors. They made a comeback. They took a 3-point lead. And then all of a sudden they started trapping him again. They started doubling him again. And it was just a case of, can these other guys hit shots? And I think that's where you might need a secondary piece to generate more. In terms of the Raptors' upcoming schedule, are you worried about how they're going to do on this 4-game road trip? It's not easy. They're on the West Coast. They play the Clippers. They play the Warriors. They play the Nuggets, although they're shorthanded. They're down 3 of their 5 starters. And then they finish a road trip against Portland, who's struggling, but still a pretty viable team. Are you happy with a 2-2 stretch here?
Oh, I'm ecstatic with a 2-2 stretch, man.
Ecstatic, okay.
Any West Coast swing, no matter against which opponents, you come back 500, you're doing great. Like you could be playing the Kings and, I don't know, name other couple of shitty teams. Like that would be a decent stretch for you on the West Coast. So a 2-2 would be amazing. Do I think they go 2-2? Probably not. I think maybe they beat the Nuggets. The Warriors are going to be a tough customer. The Clippers and Blazers, I mean, those are, pick'ems. But overall, man, I'm glad they are going on a West Coast trip in the face of adversity, because this will be a chance for the team to kind of show what they're made of, right? So like if you had a soft stretch coming up, they might go 4-0, and you might get lulled into a false sense of security again. So this stretch to me is just the right time to go on the road when you are being tested, and we'll see what they're made of.
I feel very concerned about Kyle Lowry's current form because he's going to play Patrick Beverley on Tuesday. Not easy. And Patrick Beverley and Avery Bradley, by the way. Even if he gets a switch or whatever, it's not going to be easy. And then, back-to-back, he's playing Steph Curry. All right, not easy, considering he got burned a little by Quinn Cook. So Steph's going to be a bit of a challenge. Jamal Murray is whatever. Okay, that's a bit of a rest. But it's in the altitude in Denver. No one can win in the altitude, as they say. And then, they play...
Oxygen's tight. Oxygen's tight there.
Oxygen is tight, man. Especially for a guy who likes to choke. And then, on Sunday, you got the Blazers and you got Dame Lillard. So it's not a good time for Kyle to slump, but maybe this, hopefully he can get healthy. Hopefully he can get right. And because otherwise it's going to be a tough stretch of games. It's going to be a very tough stretch of games.
Yeah, it is. I think enough Kyle Lowry talk, man. I think 2-2, 1-3, whatever. Let's see what the teams are made of. Let's see if they stay competitive. If they go 1-3 and that one is the Warriors, would you be happy?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's just.
Okay.
It's the schedule, man. The schedule is the schedule. Let's see how they play. What's there to talk? You want some predictions for this one or what?
Yeah, sure. Give me your predictions. You're saying 1-3.
I'm saying Clippers win, Warriors loss, Trailblazers loss, Nuggets win.
Okay, so you're saying 2-2. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 1-3. Actually, the one is Denver. Just Denver. I just think they're so shorthanded. But it's not going to be an easy victory either. I think they're going to play it close in both Portland and... Actually, you know what? 2-2. I think they lose the first 2 and they win against Portland. We always play Portland really well. Remember last year when we held Portland to like a 6-point quarter? Mm-hmm. And like Evan Turner was the only guy who had a bucket because the bench mob was so good? The bench mob this year has been tricky. Do you have an explanation for the bench mob?
I think because it's like the downside of Nick Nurse switching the lineups a bit too frequently sometimes. I think continuity might have an impact there. I think last season we saw very little of that. Mm-hmm. So this season, what is the bench mob even, right? It changes game to game almost. So I'd say that it probably has a big thing to do. And that was one of the reasons where in the preseason, I was a big fan of continuing to start Ibaka, because I wanted to maintain that continuity off the bench, like Siakam off the bench. But they didn't do that, but they're benefiting through other ways, obviously. So I think it's just a byproduct of that. Yeah,
I mean, given a choice between a good starting unit or a good bench, you want a good starting unit.
Yeah. There you go.
Circling back.
By the way, can I please? I mean, so I haven't been on the podcast for a while, but I just want to say that I might have been the only writer. Oh, I'm not a writer too much anymore, but
you still write,
only dude on Raptors Republic that gave Ibaka a chance. I think everybody had him like
That's true.
This guy sucks. Trade him. I was like, oh man, I think Serge is good. I don't think Serge is shit. Serge is alright.
No, you're right, man. Serge is the comeback player of the year. I don't want to hear about Derrick Rose. I'm watching Serge Ibaka play every single night. Always shoot 50%. Play great defense, and I mean, there might be an All-Star game for him. I don't know. Like, he's actually been that good. I don't want to personally see Serge at an All-Star game. It's not really entertaining to me. I don't want to see a pick and pop jumper. I want to see Eastern Conference LaMarcus Aldridge, but he's been phenomenal. Circling back to these two games, then we'll end the podcast here because you got to run after this. We saw the Raptors play the Sixers and the Bucks. Between those two teams, which one are you more concerned of in terms of looking forward to a playoff series?
Oh, Bucks, dude, easily. And it's
Why?
not even Giannis. It's not even Giannis.
Okay.
It is goddamn Lopez.
Okay.
Like, that dude has developed a three out of the blue. Like, he is stepping back. He's, like, head faking. And, like, I think yesterday he hit one from, like, 30 feet.
Yeah, he has Klay Thompson's shooting shot selection, which is nuts for a 30-year-old.
That dude scares the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
Because he drags our center all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
He can coax them into fouls.
Yep.
He stretches the defense.
Yep.
And then Giannis is Giannis, obviously. And then they have all these like Middleton and Ilyasova who are not great.
Man.
Who aren't great, but they do enough to stretch you out. And they're enough that you have to worry about them on the court. Mm-hmm. I think Philly has a couple of guys here and there which you still like can kind of forget about, and they won't hurt you.
Yeah.
Right? And the Bucks just do not have that. And that's an easy one in favor of the Bucks, man. And I think defensively they're just more aggressive than Philly.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's a guy you can, if you put a good defender on him, and Jimmy Butler is a player who is liable to get coaxed into winning the game all by himself.
Yeah.
Whereas Giannis is not that guy. Giannis, I think, is smart enough and is aware enough to pass it off when he needs to. He knows how to use the players at his disposal, where Jimmy Butler's career has kind of been, this is my team, I got to win it for them, which doesn't work in the postseason.
Okay, then. Well, if you look ahead to a playoff series, Raptors versus Bucks, the rosters being what they are, keep in mind that the Bucks just traded for George Hill to complete a nice 3-guard rotation of Bledsoe, Brogdon, and George Hill. Those are 3 dependable guards who can all play 1 and all play 2 and defend, multiple positions, and shoot threes decently and handle the ball safely. But look ahead to Raptors versus Bucks in a 7-game series. Let's say Raptors have home court. Are we taking that?
Oh, geez. On current form?
Not on current form, just on current rosters. We can assume that Kyle's not going to score 0 points. Although 2 games against the Bucks this year have probably been his 2 worst games.
Jesus, man. I mean, I'd hate to say this, but I got to go with the Bucks, man.
Oh, man. Okay, is it a Bucks in 7 scenario? Is it a Bucks in 6, 5? I mean, what's going on here?
I mean, 6, it doesn't matter. I mean, Bucks advance. The way it is right now, from what I'm seeing of the Bucks right now, yeah, man, they're a legit team, and they have threats at every position on the court if you count Brogdon, right?
Oh, man, I even count Tony Snell, man. I mean, his history against the Raptors is pretty good. So
George Hill they picked
Thon
up.
Maker.
I mean, they're a decent unit, and I think Giannis is the better player than Kawhi. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think overall impact, he's the better player. So I think it would be a bit homerish of me to pick the Raptors right now. Every time I've seen the Bucks, they're an absolute nightmare to score against.
Yes.
They can afford to switch 1 to 3 pretty easily and still hold their own. Their center is a more, current NBA center than JV is. JV tends to struggle against him. I've found. And even like the thing with Lowry, man, is that fine, he's not scoring on his own, but he's not actually playing good defense either. Like Brogdon, wasn't Brogdon his guy on both the threes?
I mean, they're a bit of a scramble on both ends, but I think Brogdon had a straight line drive where he just drove right at Lowry, and Lowry was just kind of too weak. Brogdon's surprisingly strong. He kind of outmuscled Fred VanVleet for the same deal. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not entirely confident with Lowry versus Brogdon, which I think, bringing a whole bow on this thing. I mean, if you're not confident with your number 2 guy against Malcolm Brogdon, it's an issue,
And yesterday, I think in the RR chat, I was like, I was kind of hurt with that loss, man.
We were all hurt.
And somebody mentioned like what does Lowry have to average in the postseason? And I'm like, forget averaging. He just got to beat his own matchup.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even sure he can outperform the guy he's playing against right now. So when you ask me to make a prediction, I'm basing it based on current form.
Okay.
Even though you told me to ignore that, but I can't ignore it because I'm biased towards it.
Sure. We can let it inform. I think. Okay, so then let me pose it to you this way. Instead, let's say we had Bradley Beal or Jrue Holiday instead of Kyle, or maybe in addition to Kyle, but instead of having JV and OG and a future pick, then going into this series, would you feel better?
I think for this particular series, you need a guy like Jrue more than you need a guy like JV.
Yeah, definitely. JV doesn't do anything against Thon Maker. It's
exactly.
Very strange.
Exactly. So for something like this, I think I'd feel more confident because we would have improved defensively. Like I saw Jrue against the Pistons.
Yeah. I
think yesterday or the day before, and I was just like picturing him in a Raptors uniform, man, the entire time.
He'd be
the
great.
Entire time. I think he'd be pretty goddamn solid. I think he's got a decent jumper, very good length, can defend, can run the break better than Kyle. The three, what does he shoot from three? I mean,
I'll look it up.
Right, it's not. I don't think it's amazing.
It's 30% right now. But in last year's playoffs, he just destroyed Damian Lillard. Like, it wasn't even close. He had like a couple 40 games. He's good.
Yeah, but his three is a problem, and that's the one thing that Kyle always brings or used to bring you is good 3-point shooting. And given the Raptors' struggles from three, losing a guy who traditionally shoots around 37 to 40% from three is a pretty big deal, right? So that and right now the Raptors are struggling from three, so it's that's the only downside to that deal.
Well, there you go, Zarar. A sobering approach and a sobering take, but also quite measured, really, because you're still saying the Raptors going 2-2 on this road trip, which I would very much like to see. Good luck.
Man.
What's up?
Ask me in 2 weeks what the prediction is, and I might change it. I'm just going based on form right now. So what I would advise Nick Nurse to do, honestly, man, is to just reduce Kyle's minutes down to 20, 25. Give him more nights off. Like, he should not be playing on this back-to-back that we have coming up.
Yeah, rest him the same night as you rest Kawhi, and then just tell people, hey, listen, the Clippers, you want to sign Kawhi Leonard? Too bad. He's not even playing on this game. Like, it's just too bad. You're not playing. And we'll just tank it. We'll just tank it. And, in fact, we'll even keep Kyle Lowry out of the game, which would actually help the Raptors in terms of competitiveness if he shoots 0 points again. But, it's worth it in the long run. It really is.
For sure. And because realistically, you're not going to flip Kyle for Jrue Holiday or Bradley Beal or anybody else. No. So at the end of the day, your best option is to manage Kyle rather than try to trade him in some like fancy trade. Although, given what Ujiri has done in the past, I wouldn't put it past him. I just don't think it's the odds are in favor.
I think he could still get Tim Hardaway in a future first from the Knicks right now for Kyle Lowry. Anyway.
You probably could, man. You probably could.
Follow Zarar. Corner Sniper on Twitter.
And don't follow me. I got nothing going on, man.
Arsenal list.
If you like Arsenal.
Yeah, if you like Arsenal and you like Arsenal highlights.
Follow Raptors Republic on Twitter.
Okay, there you go. And on Instagram and on YouTube. It's all happening. Zarar, good luck at the game tonight. Say hi to Nick and Barry. And
will do. I will channel my inner old Kyle Lowry and win us this game, buddy.
Okay.
I'll give you a report later.
All right. Just don't be afraid to shoot open shots, all right?
Later.
All right, peace.